What's up, guys? I want to do a quick little update on Borderlands 4. Since Black Friday has officially ended, and we're now through almost the middle of December. Borderlands 4, um, their numbers still aren't good. They still haven't hit the 5 million mark in terms of sold. Uh, this is pretty bad. Um, Borderlands 3 sold more than 5 million units in under 5 days. This game hasn't sold 5 million copies in almost 4 months. But, uh, and here's why it's a little bit worse. So, I originally priced these games at selling for $50 during the holidays. They sold for $55, which is good. That's for digital. I don't think a lot of people bought this game digital because I'm not seeing a massive amount of new players. What did sell a ton, and I mean a ton, was Amazon, who was price matching GameStop. They were selling Borderlands for $35. This game sold out in like minutes. Got restocked like an hour later. Sold out again. Got restocked like an hour later. Got restocked again. Sold out. Got restocked. Sold out. Got restocked. Sold out. And you know, every time Amazon restocks, it's not with like 100 copies. It's probably like thousands or tens of thousands of copies. Like, they might have sold 500,000 copies at $35. But for Gearbox, considering. So I did this at 70%. They keep 70% of the money. Really, it's not 70 for physical. It's closer to 60. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And say it's 70 because screw it. Let's just keep it at 70 because it just gets sad. Because if you go $35 and they only keep, let's say, 60% of it, that means they made $21 a copy. That's not great. Now they sold 500,000 copies. That's good for now, but in terms of long terms, where I did my breakdown, they're gonna have to sell 23 million copies, and even like year 1, 2, 3, 4, they're gonna have to sell this game at $50, $40. This ain't good. There's no way to sugarcoat this, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't good because so in the month of December, Bounty Pack 1 and an Invincible boss both dropped. The player count didn't even rise by 1%. 97% of players have abandoned this game and haven't returned, even though a free DLC, and technically it was a paid DLC, now became a free DLC, have released. The only seems like new people that probably are on the game seem like they're all on disc because they probably got the game for $35. Now, I think around Christmas we're probably gonna see a bunch of people get this game for Christmas because they probably bought it for a family member or something because the game was $35. It was literally 50% off. The game didn't seem to sell. People didn't think it was worth it to buy the game for $55 when it was on sale. Because I believe it was Target. Now, $55 was the Black Friday digital. Target, like 2 weeks before these sales went live, had the game for $57 disc. And I think that helped improve sales, but not by like a massive amount. So if the game wasn't selling at 70 and then it wasn't selling at 57, I'm surprised digitally they decided to choose the $50 price point. I think it would have helped if they were like, hey, $49.99 or something. Instead, they're like, no, we got to make $55 off of this thing. Um, it don't seem like there's no new digital players on this game at all. The player base would have rose at least some. I think almost all the sales from this Black Friday and early Christmas buying was from Amazon and GameStop selling this game for $35. So we might see a spike around Christmas and then it'll fade away. Um, but yeah, this, ladies and gentlemen, this ain't good. This is lower than my expectations, and with my expectations selling the game for $40 and $50, even in year 3 and 4, this game would have to sell 23 million copies, which is what Borderlands 3 sold. Borderlands 3 also sold over 5 million units in like 5 days. It just kept selling. I think one thing that's hurting them, so this game should have had a $90 edition. Or maybe if they're being greedy, a $99 edition to have everything. If you look at the 2 season passes that they have, man, half of that content used to be free and updates. That is, those 2 season passes are literally just one season pass added together. They charge 50 for one, 40 for another, and then 70 for the game. So if you buy it all apart, it's like $150 or something like that. 160 plus tax. So you're looking like 170 something. But if you buy it all together it's 130. But the problem is, you really only need, because the bounty packs are so small, by the $50 DLC with the 2 paid DLC, which is crazy that we're paying $50 for just really 2 paid DLCs. It's just nuts. And it's like people saw the greed. People saw Randy Pitchford going off, telling people not to buy this game. Yeah. You see the game not working. They didn't do a very good Halloween event. Borderlands 3, man, it really seemed like they were putting in that work. They're like, hey, we're making money hand over fist. Let's pound this thing out. Let's make some money. Let's put in some free little events to say, hey, thank you to our fans. Thank you to the people who bought this. And they're like, hey, the fans ain't buying this, so screw them. And that's kind of what this feels like. They chose poorly because let's say they sold 1 million on Black Friday because they haven't really sold many copies since Lost, and it seems like Black Friday boosted them up quite a bit. Let's say Amazon helped them sell, Amazon, GameStop, Best Buy, the works, and they sold 1 million, pretty much all physical, right? Because those were the best deals. The digital deals weren't great. All the best deals were like, I think I saw Borderlands for $48. I think I saw $47. I saw it for $45. Then the lowest was GameStop at $35. GameStop said, screw it, we're undercutting everybody. Then Amazon price matched them. And then they just sold tons of copy. I know Amazon did. They were literally out of stock, restocked, out of stock, restocked, out of stock, at least 5 times in a day. Like once they dropped the price of that. And then it happened again like the next day and the next day. Matter of fact, I was actually telling my friends and my PlayStation friends, like, hey, if you don't have this game and you think you're going to want this game in like a few months and it's not something you don't want to spend a ton of money on, but you considered it, Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty not Battlefield, but Battlefield 6 and Borderlands 4, and it was another game that was like Amazon price, and they had them for like $35. I'm like, even if you want to just add it to the backlog, the game is 50% off. You can't beat that. Those games are just a couple months old. It's not like they came out, because if a game comes out in January, February, March, you know that game is going to be 40 to 50% off on Black Friday, because the game's basically a year old at that point. Because once Black Friday and Christmas is over, those games are going to be turning one. So you expect them games to be 40, 50% off. At least 33 or something. This right here, the fact that this game literally just came out months ago, does not bode well. Does not bode well for this game whatsoever in the long term at all. Because they still haven't hit this number of 5 million, right? Christmas will be around 4 months, which would be like $245 million that they actually get to keep. It's not looking good, because here's the thing. I'm looking at this thing from like an investor point of view. Because money takes 2 to 1. Because you invest $1 million and you get $1 million back. It's not the same. That original $1 million had taxes taken out on it. Okay? The $1 million you get back has to get taxed. So it might cost you 40-50% of taxes. So you got to make $2 million back just to make any kind of profit. And if this game's budget really was around $400 million, you add in marketing $70-80 million. This game has to make $1 billion to break even. Maybe not, or to be profitable, make at least $900 million, probably to break even for its investors. It ain't looking good. And I know the platinum trophy for Borderlands 4 is like, you know what? Now we have to make Borderlands 5. Or great, now we got to make Borderlands 5. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Because one game can kill a franchise now. One game that went over $100 million over budget didn't sell. I'm reminded of Hitman Absolution, killed the franchise and sank the studio. They lost everything. They basically had to like buy themselves and produce their own games. That's why the new Hitman games like are very safe. They couldn't afford to try new things. They kind of had to go to like, it's almost like an arcadey, Fortnite type of almost non-serious Hitman, because they couldn't really afford to do like all the things they needed to do. It also reminds me of Bungie, once they got themselves out from under Microsoft and they had to start fitting the bill, and they released Destiny 2. Destiny 2 had no guns. Like, it had all these guns, but it didn't have anything that was good. Matter of fact, you're starting to see over the years of them bringing back all, or at least a handful of the exotics from Destiny 1 don't have guns. Like, if they're starting to bring back the Surge Regime and the Thorn and the Galahorn and all these legendary, that were truly legendary weapons from Destiny, because they went safe. They couldn't afford to take big financial risks because they were basically producing themselves. I think they got bought by Activision like last year or two. I'm not sure about that. I think they tried. I'm not sure if it succeeded or not. Um, then you look at like I think Hitman was one of the biggest ones though. Because Hitman, I think everyone in that franchise is just waiting for like a Blood Money remake or a Blood Money official sequel or something. Because that game you actually got paid the more money, the better you did. So those consequences, those repercussions, not only in the level, in your payment, in the newspaper, because they can afford to take risk and take chances. And unfortunately, they went too far with absolution, and it killed the company. It's like they went too far over the budget for this game to where what happens if this game sells 15, or let's say it dies at like 13 million copies, 10 million copies less than Borderlands 3, and let's say it hopes to get to 13 million because right now it's not at 5. um, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be real interesting. um, if they can get the money, because here's the thing: if they don't fix this game and fix it fast and get the player base back, these numbers on the screen don't mean a damn thing. Let's be honest here, because if they can't get the player base back, they're not going to sell 4 million copies in year 3, 3 million copies in year 4. They're not going to sell 8 million copies next year. It's not going to happen. They need 8 million this year. They need 8 million next year. They need 4 million, and then they need 3 million. Like they need numbers, because as the game gets older, yeah, it might get cheaper, but odds of people buying that game and playing that game get slimmer and slimmer because they're like, well, the new game will be out in a year or two. Not so sure about this. This might have to be the game that we get a year 2, year 3, old school Borderlands 1 and 2 Game of the Year edition on disc, and it release for like $50 or $40, and then have all the DLC. Be like one of those $50 games, because them $50 games right now are killing it. Games releasing at $50, like Claire Obscure 33 that just won like 9 Game of the Year awards. Um, Oblivion, Son of Told at $50. Mafia sold over 1 million copies. I think 2 million copies or something at $50. Like if they come in with a full Game of the Year edition with all the updates, all the guns, the fixes for like year 2, year 3, release like a year 2 Game of the Year edition with all the fixes and updates and invincible bosses, and then release a second year season pass, and then after those games come out, release like a new physical disc with all the stuff built in, like, and release that one for like 40, $50, and have all previous DLCs. I have, you know, the first season pass, the second season pass, any free DLCs you got. Like, they're gonna have to toss stuff at the wall and act like they're the small company they were when Borderlands 1 and 2 were out to fix this. Question is, will Randy Pitchford allow it? Or will he get removed by the board? Um, this ain't, because here's the thing: they sold 1 million copies at $35 or even close to that. Yeah, that's 200. That's 24 million. They added to the pocket that they didn't have before. But if the gap to pay off the investors and the loans and the interest and the taxes, if that's like $1 billion, 24 million, they might have made a few, and I mean a few million, if that, off of digital, which I doubt because no one has seen new players online besides like the people who bought it for like $35. Because I got the game on PS5 for $35, just because, and I was thinking about buying it for my buddy, but this game has just went to. If this game has to be 50% off for people to touch it, just to buy it, and the crazy thing is, they still ain't playing it. It's like they bought this game knowing we're going to have to wait 3 months before we play this game. This is a buy and wait game. So yeah, we'll pay $35 for it. Or we'll play it at Christmas when we have a break. But this is almost like a buy and wait game. And that is crazy. I don't think I've seen this in a while. Let me cut on the light. It's getting kind of dark in here. Alexa, turn on living room light. But that's actually pretty sad. That it's still selling like worse than I expected and cheaper than I expected. And people are like buying this to wait. They're not buying this to play, they're buying this to wait. How does that happen? Who thinks of that? Like, and because they're making less money per sale than I expected them to make. Like, so I was expecting them to make $49 a game, which they were for like the first 2.5 million. But then I was expecting them to make more per unit during the holidays. Considering not many people bought digital, they bought disc. They bought this disc to add to their backlog to probably play in 6 months. And I don't blame them. Like, as a Borderlands player, I can't blame them. This game should have released next March. And I know why they did. They were afraid of GTA coming out in 2 months. But dude, all the signs were there saying GTA was getting delayed again. Every sign was there saying GTA was getting delayed again. And guess what? GTA got delayed again to late 2026. And guess what? They're now already saying that's probably not going to be the last delay. It's probably going to get delayed to probably May of 2027. So they rushed this game, brought it out before the holidays, got the holiday sales, and it reviewed poorly. It sold poorly. Like it's under 5 million units. Gearbox won't say what the official number is, but they're closing in on 5 million. So it really could be like 4.2 or something. Now it could be 3.8 for all we know. But the fact that we haven't got an update since like 2.5 million, but they're closing in, I'm guessing it's probably at least 4. But if it was 4, I kind of feel like they would have said, hey, we sold 4 million units. Like, 4 million units we can do something with. They haven't done that. They haven't officially said we sold 4 million units. We sold 4.5 million units. We sold 4.8 million units. They said we're closing in on 5. That's kind of weird. it's kind of different. That's normally you come out and say, "Oh, hey, it's the holidays. We're at 4.3 million copies." Instead of we're closing in on 5, because they made less. They made about $10 less a copy than I was expecting. So if they sold $1 million, a million copies at, let's say, $35 between Amazon and GameStop, instead of selling 23 million, man, they might have to sell 24. And remember, the longer it takes you to pay off debts and stuff. Now, granted, they probably went ahead and started paying off a bunch of debts and loans. Um, but the longer it takes you to pay them off, the larger those numbers get. I mean, that's something we have to take into account. Um, so this is gonna be a difficult process for them to pull themselves out of. They don't get their stuff together. Kind of making me afraid that we might not see Borderlands 5. Like, they're gonna have, like, the greed, the incompetence, the ego, the telling people to return or refund the game because the game's not optimized for PC. Apparently, it runs worse on PlayStation 5 Pro than it runs on PlayStation 5, which is insane because it was supposed to be optimized for the Pro. So people spent like $700 on a upgrade just because they could. Hey, buddy. Are you high? You're high. Security bit. But as far as for like household things, shop things, okay, whatever, you need just like the setup and you just want to get something easy and fast, this is the one. It is fantastic. I like the way how it works as well. Very wide range. Is my buddy. My fluff. He is a kite right now, and he decided to come say hey. You okay? Very good trash bag. Do you need help? Okay. Let me. Here's my knife. Let me just fix this off. It's okay. I'm not gonna cut you. I'm gonna get this off of you. There you go. You're free. The cat loves bags. So he's just running around with a trash bag. Like, meow, I'm high. I'm a high kitty cat. But as you see, he's orange. Orange kitty cats. Just they're very orange. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Man, I'm kind of afraid about this game. Like, this game doesn't make at least significantly amount of money back. Like, if it don't make 70% of its money back, I don't think we're seeing a 5. And then if we do see a 5, I think it's going to go back to the budget of like 2, possibly 3. And they're going to be like, or somewhere between 2 and 3. I'm going to be honest. They're going to make them. And I know Randy Pitchford is like, yeah, games are so expensive now, and games are so expensive to make for now. And I know everyone blames Unreal Engine 5, but apparently the Unreal Engine 5 guy actually did an interview, and it's because a lot of people bought the Unreal Engine 5 dev kits and versus affording to buy like the 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 upgrades, which apparently are like 10 times easier to develop for, have less problems. And he's like, yeah, developers could have spent like a little bit more money and solved the majority of these issues. They're like, no, we have programmers, we can handle this, and couldn't, and they're bottlenecked into doing certain things. Like the developers even said they're kind of like stuck. They have to do certain things and like certain orders and stuff. But anyway, I've been rambling long enough. Um, Never been afraid of this franchise dying. That's kind of changed now. I'm not confident that we're gonna see five, because if we see five, I'm not sure Randy Pitchford's the CEO. Or he might be the CEO, but they might have stripped him of power, made him stand down. Or he might just be a face of a franchise, but they took all his power away or something. Um, this is concerning about the sales, about the status of the game. The game has lost, seems like, all the depth and character and stuff. Like enemies, when they used to run to you, like, I'm gonna pull your guts through your spleen, or I'm gonna pull your eyes out and make you watch, or some crazy off the wall shit. Uh, the elemental effects all used to have different effects. They didn't just show up as numbers like above an enemy. Like Borderlands 1, acid would make you disintegrate. Fire would make people like run around. Like electricity would make people's heads explode. I can't remember if slag was added in 1 or 2. I think it was added in 2. But yeah, it would add a multiplier to it. You hit them with slag, and then you hit them with another elemental. Like all of those like original ideas are like scrap. Like yeah, they had a cryo, and cryo is pretty cool, and radiation's pretty cool. And there's not a lot of enemies that are really good against radiation or cryo, but the multipliers for those against enemies aren't that great either. But there's not a lot of enemies weak against them, or stronger against them, really. I don't know. It's just. I'm sorry that my first few videos on this channel are kind of pessimistic sounding. And I really wanted to launch this channel at the beginning of the year, but I kind of had some health issues I had to deal with. It's, and it seems like we're in a very bad state of gaming. Like, Doom the Dark Ages on disc is literally just like a download code. It's kind of like the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is literally doing everything wrong. I don't know, maybe that's just the way gaming is going right now. And unfortunately, Gearbox is lumped in with them. Gearbox, man, if you're listening to this, I'm gonna make a video soon, maybe tonight, of how to fix this. And hopefully, we can come up with some kind of solution. And I'm sure that, like other videos, like trash in this game, I'm gonna see if we can come up with some kind of solution. See if there's something we can do, because we gotta write this shit. Because y'all spent too much damn money on this game to let it flop. Because one bad flop in this generation is a death sentence for not only that franchise, but that developer, that CEO. Um, and I would hate to see Gearbox disbanded like so many other developers have. And they're lucky that EA hasn't acquired them or something, because if EA saw this coming, EA would have fired Randy Pitchford. EA probably would have fired that staff. EA might have made one game to see if it sold and probably half-assed it. And then that's just it. And then that's the franchise. The franchise is dead, never to be seen again unless it was sold to another company and then they tried to make it. Now, granted, I think a competitor could compete with Borderlands because Borderlands stopped trying. they clearly stopped trying after Borderlands 2. Like 3 was kind of like a cash grab, but people were so excited after Borderlands 2 they bought it. But I don't know. We just gotta find a fix for this, and hopefully we can. Because something's got to give.